Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the prettiest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this time?
Sure enough.
Well, who am I?
Sure enough.
Who am I?
Sure enough.
I can't hear you.
Sure enough.
Hey, folks. Phil Davis, Ancestrylands, ancestrylands.com. Let me see if you all can hear me here in the chat. Give me 1 second, folks. Sorry about that. So let's unmute the mic. Little sound check here, folks. Phil Davis, Ancestrylands, ancestrylands.com. I hope you all can hear me, folks. Let me know if you can hear me out in the chat here. Let's get things rocking here. Folks, happy Friday, folks. Happy Friday. And we are live now. You're right now live. Let's look at here. Folks, how are you? Phil Davis here, Ancestrylands, ancestrylands.com. Folks, it is a happy Friday, folks. Happy Friday. One of the things that I've wanted to talk about today, folks, and I hope you like the new setup here. Give me 1 second, folks. I feel like we're okay. Nope. Okay, let's see if we can hear me now. Okay, so we should be able to hear me now, correct?
You're now listening to.
Okay, we should be able to hear me now in the chat. Okay, folks, how are you, folks? Phil Davis, Ancestrylands. We had a little technical difficulties here, folks. I'm just working out some things here on the chat. And folks, I wanted to ask the question. Today is Friday the 3rd. Folks, I got up there in the actual chat here. The question is things you should know before you get married. You know, relationships now, I believe, are in the dumps on average. Most people are electing not to get married. We talked about people being single, the single rate, the dating rate, but it all leads to somewhere. It leads to, eventually marriage or old age or, retirement, things like that later on in your life. And the question I want to ask people now is these are and the title is put a certain way to make people understand, there are 3 phases in being married. There's 3 phases to eventually get to marriage. And I wanted to talk about that because I think it's something that people should know, should discuss, or should understand. And that's going to be our showrunner for today. Freestyle Fridays, folks. That's how I'm doing it. Freestyle Fridays. The first phase of the mating phase or the courting phase, which every guy is going to do, is the dating phase. The dating phase. That is where I titled it, the I like you phase. That's the first phase, the courting phase, the phase of interest. And it does not matter which side of the aisle you're going to be on this, because anyone who's dating is going to fall into the I like you phase. Young people, puppy love, that kind of stuff. That's going to be there. That's going to happen. Young kids are, that's the love, the jitters. You're afraid to talk to a girl. You're afraid to, how can I say this? You're not really yourself. That's probably the best way to put that. You have your representative there. You're also learning how to date and the dating process. You're seeing what strengths or weaknesses you may have as a potential dating candidate. And that's the I like you phase. There are 3 phases that I believe are in marriage. And you're not guaranteed to make them to all phases, but dating, engaging in relationships with a woman, you have to pass one of these phases, or you have to go into some of these phases. Now, again, there is a phase before this where you can actually pay for it, if you will. I'm not advocating that, but that is sometimes how people, um, they that's their way around it. They're going to pay for it, completely out of the dating market themselves. The I like you phase. The reason why I brought up the I like you phase is because that's probably the heavily dominated area where everyone's going to start off at. All the kids, everyone who's, it doesn't matter what, if you're into same sex or another sex or whatever your sexuality, you're going to start there. That's going to be your starting point. The I like you phase. And I like you because I have an interest in you. That's why. You have people that you see or you're interested in high school, college, the bar, many of these different areas you find yourself wanting to engage a female or a male in, correct? This is your practice grounds, okay? And during this stage, you're learning how to communicate, how to connect, and how to catch the right one, the girl that you desire. And that brings me to my subtopic of, do we let the right ones for us go? Did you throw away the wrong one? Did you let the right one pass through your fingers? So when I'm asking this question during the I like you phase, we're going to delve into each one a little bit, as they come. We're going to talk about those things. We're going to talk about them as they start to evolve and layer out. During the I like you phase, the male or the men, and I'm going to speak from my own experience too. What is set up in the dating or mating rituals, the dating rituals, is that the man is going to try to find some way to impress a girl. And olden times, or when I say olden times, so the girl, you would get some kind of inkling that a girl liked you, or a girl would get an inkling that a guy liked her, right? That's what you would find out and know from a person. And make sure everybody can just give me a thumbs up or something if you can hear me in the live stream there, because I'm not sure I have sound. I hope I have sound. I'm hoping I have sound. So when you're dating or you're interested in a girl, you come up to her. I don't know how the younger kids do it nowadays, but you let her know that you have some level of interest, or she lets a guy know she has some level of interest in a young man or woman or man on man, whatever else. And during that early phase, it's much of the guy trying to do the best he can to impress this girl, to grab her attention. And I'm not sure much has changed in 20 years from when, I was out there dating too as well, but the girl is, kind of filtering the guy and qualifying him, you know, his physique, his looks, and that sometimes is a shared opinion. And guys don't know that. Guys don't know that much of the girl's liking of you is going to be based off her circle of friends. Her peers will be judging her feelings, her interactions with you. So literally a guy, when he's interacting with the girl, he doesn't know that he has a council of judges that are meticulously looking at his actions that he's doing along the dating. So generally you're not dating one girl, you're dating a council of women. And and this is getting into the prize and the catch. They always say, oh, women are the prize, or she's a great catch. There's no man part in that. There's nothing. Can anyone hear me in the chat? Can anyone hear me? You're able to hear me in the chat? Let me see. Can I? Think I can hear myself. Okay, we're going to continue on. Give me 1 second here, folks. I always try to have my wife check out, make sure the sound is good, whenever she's helping. I'm going to get into that part too as well. So again, when we're going back to the phase of you are dating with you're dating with a young lady, you're really dating her and her friends. Much of that information is going to be shared throughout that chat group, if you will. And I don't think that's ever changed. The young man is generally trying to do his best to win her affection. That is sometimes done by the currency for his affection or her affection can be in many forms. It can be in the form of his popularity, that can be in the form of his physicality, his athletic ability, his academic prowess. Those can be certain areas that qualify him for her affection or her desire. For him, it may be just as simple as her looks. I mean, guys are visual creatures. We tend to go off of looks, heavily into looks, correct? I mean, that's no secret about that. Men are visual creatures. Men are looking to get a woman because of certain things that she has. It could be somewhat physical, it could be something in her smile, the way her eyes are. And men tend to fantasize or fetishize how they view their attraction to a woman. I'll explain. And I apologize for the opening, folks. As you may notice, I put some lights up behind me. I'm doing a little bit to kind of jazz up the scenery there, give you all a little bit of effects. But it's very important that we talk about this point because many men go through this and there's not always some guidance for us during this stage. You know, mothers typically tell your sons treat her right, and dads are always, go get the girl, get the girl, get the boy. And like I said, that the man now has a fiduciary kind of responsibility because the once the girl is going out, you want to go out for a date. First, there's always usually some phone conversation, and now that may have metamorphosized or evolved into texting. Some form of communication is done. There's an exchange, okay? And I'm going to talk about the value of these exchanges too, because sometimes men are not aware of the environment that they're dating in. They're not. If anybody's watching, let me know, please, because I want to make sure there's volume in the chat here. When a young man is courting or looking to gather the attention, he understands that he's not only against the friends that are in her circle, he's also against any other males that, or even females. Nowadays you have to count females that are going to compete for her desire, her affection. This is pedestalizing a young woman and how she's receiving signals based upon her value and worth. I'm going to say, to my shame, at the gym, anybody knows about gyms nowadays? I go to 24-hour fitness. At these gyms now, the gyms are set up where they have sometimes like a little movie theater and the aerobic areas where you can do treadmills and stuff like that. You know, let me just text my wife real quick and make sure she can hear me. Okay, you're good. We can hear you. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. See, this, one good thing about a wife, I can't hear myself. I can only hear myself talking through the mic, but I don't always hear if you all can hear me. So I have my wife. Hey, can you hear me? Things like that. She was texting me one time and I wasn't listening. So she's my sound check person. Thank you, honey. Appreciate it. And the reason why I'm going to go into this a little bit at length, and again, I do want to tell people I will start having people, if you're watching or anything else like that, and a person does want to come up, I'm going to figure out a way to invite people to come up and chime in and give their say. I do want to hear from my audience. I do have an audience, despite what people may think. And you build an audience slowly, folks. If you want to do something organic, you have to build an audience slowly. And I'm not talking about my wife. I don't want to hear from her. I hear from her all the time. It's not her opinion. I know her opinion. I say that jokingly. But when you're in this phase, and you got to think about this, that most girls are trained or raised to stand from the pedestal point of the relationship dynamics between a young man. And there is a certain reason why it should be that way, and there's reasons why it should not be that way. I think the burden and the proof is for the guy to say that, hey, and the the vast environment of competing males and females, and please, if people disagree with me, please comment in the chat and let us know. Go on Facebook or go on YouTube. We're on YouTube, Facebook, on my business page, Ancestrylands. If you do not have access, but I would encourage people to go to the Facebook page and the YouTube page. I'm sorry, excuse me, YouTube page, and comment, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. But when that's happening, the girl is more on the receiving end. She's receiving the affection. The burden of proof is on the young male. The young male has to do everything he can to show her that he should be her boyfriend. And even though he may get selected, and that's not always upfront. And this is to people who have daughters too. Just understand these dynamics can later on hurt a woman as she progresses into these later stages. Okay. And this is why I'm saying it's important to understand these dynamics when you are going to say I do, especially for men, young men. At that time, the young male has to show he's either popular, he's either athletic, he's gifted, he has a certain level of attention to him, he's either smart or capable in some way. The female does not have to do the same equivalent to prove to the male that she's worth giving the affection to. The onus is not on the woman now to say, hey, I have to show him that I'm worthy of, being the girl chosen by him. That only exists with the top tier of whoever's in that, high school dynamics at that point. This is true. The girl, when a guy approaches her and likes her, her friends are there to, girl, he's cute. And again, sometimes a girl, also the currency for her wanting to be with the guy can be also that another girl in her group desires him too. That competitiveness can cause her to, prematurely say, well, I like him because I don't want her to have him. I've had this happen to myself. With men, there's pretty much a, when I say a turn, I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying here with it. When I say a turn, if a guy likes a girl, typically there's a pecking order. And I think this is somewhat biologically based too with relationships. The pecking order is a guy likes a girl. He kind of says, hey guys, I'm interested in that girl. And guys kind of know, hey, look, you know what? Like let him go and try. If it doesn't work, then another man is generally, there's some unspoken rules to this where another guy can go and try his shot. Some guys will even compete. Some guys, it will be a gentleman way to do it, or some guys may end up throwing hands. You know what I mean? And hopefully it doesn't get to the, method of doing things. But still, these are all factors that play out over the desire for having a woman's affection, attention. And it's still, in all these situations, the girl does not have to do anything to exchange or give back in that. She only has to approve or deny. Okay. This is young teen girls start off this way. And if they are really popular or good looking, and think about all the guys or girls in high school, or when you're coming up and you're young and you're starting to date and get involved even more physically with younger women or men, the women have somewhat the same way, but it's not with the common boy, okay, or common man. I'm going to use man in the term of young man, meaning young, preteens, and like let's go 15 and above, because I don't want to go in some gray areas here. But when we all are 15, 16, generally the popular guys that most people desire, that is the currency that needs to be paid. I'm sorry, the way that girls get selected out of that bunch is they're now competing. That's the guy's, his standard, his gold standard is his popularity. Top athlete, a guy like Avon who's going to the pros, his standard, his monetary denomination of currency is his popularity. His looks may not matter at that age. Not that Avon's a bad looking guy. Pause. I'm not, saying that. But again, he has choice pick. And now girls have to vie against each other to pick that top guy. Many people talk about this. I think this is the Pareto principles. It's elaborated on, but no one explains the dynamics of how that plays out over time and how it ends up most likely destroying more relationships because of that Pareto principle. Pareto principle, you can look it up, but it's typically where a lot of women, and you'll see this and you're growing up, we all have went through this, right? A girl that we like that's going after the bad boy or the super jock or the someone else, and we don't have the it factor for her affection. Sometimes what you may do is she may have been dumped by that guy and you're the friend waiting in the wind, which now people call simps, which I don't always agree with that guys are simps. A lot of men don't have the it factor. I wasn't always as tall as other guys. Some girls want a guy that eventually became now they want a 6 foot guy. But again, more the top 20% of guys that are popular in high school, they generally check off those boxes. Do women instinctively want a guy who's 6 foot? Not always, but again, when you're dating or trying to court with a woman, sometimes the group desires become the individual desires. Most men don't know that. Most young men don't know that. Sometimes a girl's friend's opinion of you can literally decide your fate of whether you can be with her or not, because women tend to turn to other women for cues in this young age. I'm not talking about older women. We're going through the phase now. And that's why I say I like you, I love you, and I hate you. We're going to move through this gamut. At the top prettier women and the athletic guys, the guys who are the what we call now alpha males, which used to be the jocks, the bad boys, the guys who had their pick of the girls, pretty much are going around and selecting girls, and girls do it too. It's an equal exchange. They're on the gold standard of the market at that time, and everyone else is done. It has the what we call the leftovers. You know, the popular girl. And I'm going to say it too. To my shame, I'm going to get back to the gym thing real quick. When I'm at the gym, and yeah, I'm a grown man, 40 something years old. I'm at the gym, and the gym has on Mean Girls. I just want to look at something because I hate at the gym now. You can't watch people because you don't know if somebody's going to put you on Instagram and TikTok. So I go into the movie area. It's dark, and I get on elliptical. They're playing Mean Girls. You might see Mean Girls, Rachel McAdam, Lindsay Lohan. I don't know, just a whole bunch of girls. And I'm not watching the whole thing, but I'm catching whatever my workout is. And I'm noticing how the lead girl is dictating the look and the behaviors. And I know this is a movie, but it is somewhat accurate in the sense that it talks about dynamics between a group of girls who are friends. And it talks about the anti-popular girl group, which is, the geeky girl, the nerdy girls who their value is who they are, not what they look like. And in these dynamics, even if the one girl wants to become prettier, there still is the reverse happening in that same group. There are a group of girls who, they may not be as pretty as the top 20%. And one girl starts to bud a little bit and become a little bit more prettier as she gets older. Well, that girl now has a choice to make. She can either leave that group, that clique, if you will, and move into another one, causing division in the group, resentment in the group. With guys, that generally doesn't happen. Guys tend to be in groups either by friendship or sports related or some general commonality. And it can cross pollinate into other groups. If you're a guy, some guys are jocks and they also do multi-tier sports. So you can be cool with guys who play basketball, football, and run track, or you can just be all cool because you're all athletes. And then there are micro divisions in those groups. So in dating, the guys, the exchange again here is looks and popularity. You're either popular physically, you're popular height wise, you're popular, and whatever the qualifiers for what a group of women are deciding is the popular factor. Because if you really ask people in the high school, environment, the popularity is kind of decided by, it's more of a group decision. It's not really an accurate depiction of the individual. It's more of this guy is the star basketball player. He's the star football player. This guy everyone thinks is cute. And there's a group formulation of what is and what isn't. It's not really based in reality. It's based on pretty much peer-to-peer evaluation or group peer evaluation. And I'm going to move into the next phases. But again, this is a podcast. I'm going to layer it out so you can ponder and think about it. And for us older folks, we can reflect on this because we have young daughters and sons or daughters and sons coming up into what is the next technological variation of what we've gone through. And while this is going on, generally we've seen and we see now, and you'll talk about even Brittany Renner has confirmed this in later ones. And I'm not going to jump to that, but I'm going to always say that the jocks generally are not the smartest people. The girl is dating him because one, she's occupying the demand because he can no longer supply himself to multiple girls if she has him locked in. And he may be with the pretty girl because again that adds to his high demand. There's an ego feed, a what do they call that? Oh man, science people help me out. It's like a symbiotic exchange here. Her popularity too goes up because she's with the top male or top popular person in that age group or that demographics in college or high school. I'm going to concentrate on high school and say that because college does change somewhat in dynamics. But again, the other middle group and the bottom group, they don't have access because generally more girls are waiting in the wind for that guy, or they're taking the secondary males, the secondary group that are not the prime targets. If every girl had to pick a guy, more girls would pick one guy. And then if they don't get that guy, they would pick the second option, which becomes the second best. But their main desire is not met on a 1-to-1 ratio. They're watching a girl have that guy, have her turn, and it could be for as long as 4 years. They're, high school sweethearts. Maybe not today. And that guy may trade out and say, I don't want that girl anymore. And the girl may trade out or do something to sabotage that relationship and get that top tier guy. This is going on unbeknownst to us while we're going through high school and those dynamics. There's psychological imprints that are made because we've experienced not being chosen or being the chosen or picking second best, not knowing we're second best. We're number two. We're not someone's first choice. Some people get a false sense of I'm a top pick because really they were picked number two after number one was gone. Because it cascades down along that order. So we're all growing up. Every person in here is fitting into one of these cosms that I'm talking about in this relationship. This is the I like you phase. And some people may not have to do as much as the next person to win the affection. It's kind of there's a gradient on, and when I say that, I mean it's that it's not go out to date. Some popular guys do not have to do anything for a girl's affection. And this transfers into the later stages in life the same way. I'm going to get to that too. I've had people say, don't belabor the point. But again, when you're talking about something that transitions through stages, you really need to flesh out each stage. It is not as simple as people saying the Pareto principle, and it's a design with all these women stacked on one side going after 20% of men. You have to get into the detail because sometimes we always talk about number one, number two, but no, people don't know if they're number three, number four, number five, all the way down to the bottom person on both sexes. And most times in certain spheres, they only concentrate on the man side, but they don't see that the parallel is happening on the women's side. Because how many times has a guy that's been popular passed over a girl in the same way that a girl has been with a guy who's popular and passed over a number three or number four guy? Or she was with a number three, but decided to go with the number one or trade up for a guy who was more popular, cuter. And a lot of that exchange is not based on individual value or intrinsic factors, such as you're going to school, you come from a well-off family. It doesn't always be there. I went to a predominantly white high school, and there was girls who liked black guys too. They wanted to just be with the black guy because, all they've known is just white guys. So sometimes your actual skin color, race, or ethnicity can be a currency of exchange too. When I say currencies of exchange, I'm talking about how people trade value for value. It can be one of those myriad of things. But again, most young people do not know these paradigms that exist within the high school structure. And they are never changing. All they do may shift out roles of what is popular now, but the dynamics still stay the same because humans are still mammal creatures that like exchanges. We like human contact. We tend to form groups. We tend to have hierarchies. That's never going to change. What will change is how the paradigm shifts. Jocks may not be at the very top. It may be science guys now. That's still going to always be there, but it will change and it will fluctuate. So again, what's happening is that you don't know that you're a number 6 or 7. You may get a top tier girl, you may date a popular girl, but you do not understand when you are going after this girl or guy. And I'm going to speak from the guy point because I've never been, I don't know what a girl feels like. I'm just going to say is that from the guy's standpoint, the young men are going out to dates. They're buying the girls gifts. And on Valentine's Day, you rarely see a girl in high school give a guy a gift in return. There is no "you're my Valentine's." It is, again, the guy has given the girl the gift. He's given her roses, flowers, gum, candy, chocolates, whatever, Snapchats, DM, OnlyFans accounts. You know what I mean? The list goes on and on. Let's get to the upper stuff. And what happens in there is no responsibility for the girl to return any kind of, there's no reciprocation other than her accepting the gift and being more popular because my boyfriend got me this. You may see this later on when you're conditioned later on, when someone will ask you, what did you get your spouse? What did you get your wife? What did you get your girlfriend for Valentine's Day? There really is no, what did you get your man? I don't think women, even when I've heard them and be in groups, and even I work in a hospital predominantly with women, there's always, what did he get you? Never a, what did you get him? And I will say there are women who say, you know what, I don't go by that. I will get him something. But again, this is the conditioning along the way that shows that and this conditioning, it can be detrimental because women are being trained to not value the man. And that leads down to the breakup component later on in line. That's what I said. I like you. I love you. I hate you. And the dads or the girls do have fathers at home. They somewhat too are implicit in actually making sure, because the dads never teach their daughters, as well as the mothers too, that, hey, what did you get him? I've in my high school time, I went on many, many dates for Valentine's Day, and it generally has always been taking the girl out. She sits there, she smiles, you come up with conversations, you're extremely nervous. What you want to do is don't mess it up. You have to come up with many creative ways. You might do mini golf, an arcade, you might go to a dinner and a movie, and a guy is looking to get the whole woman. He not only wants her presence, he wants her essence. And guys know what I mean when I say that. He wants her to give herself to him. It's not just what I think women don't understand is when a man is he's looking at a woman, he wants her desire. Where I think a lot of women want his attention. I could be wrong. But a man is looking to say that a woman is, when I say desire in essence, I'm talking about that she's all about him. He wants a certain level of loyalty, a certain level of that. When you say claiming a woman, it's the fact that she won't veer off and go to another mate or another place, that he's got a good foundation to begin the dating rituals on a much long-term basis to see if they can qualify for a long-term relationship. This is the middle phase of the I like you phase. And at this point, women, you can always disagree, but I would always say, please comment in the chat to show me where the women now has to, and this is not a dig in women, this is understanding dynamics and how they lead to divorces later on in life. And women are allowed to come in and say, hey, no, I disagree. That's bull. Let me get my sense, because I'm about to curse. That is bull. That doesn't happen. Okay, cool. Well, let us know how it's different on a generalized term, because I've seen plenty of different guys, and there's so much in the manosphere and all these other spheres, and women talk about this, and this, but I do not see Valentine's Day commercials in our society that show a man getting something. I've seen a guy in a GMC commercial get 2 trucks. The woman wants the manly looking truck and he's get the other one, but he bought 2 trucks. She didn't want the truck he got her. She wanted his truck. but it was still showing that she had choice even when there was between the two. He got her a brand new truck, but she wanted the man truck. And then the guy's like, okay, I'll take, what is the girl truck? I don't really know. Unless it's pink, it's not really a girl. And I don't know. But that's our society conditioning there. The young man is now moving, hopefully, into the secure point of his young relationship with a girl. I love you. That's what you see the puppy love. They can never separate. And I miss those stages sometimes. When you're older now in your 40s, you that level of affection where a girl, and the girls too, she desires him. Her thing is the infatuation with being in the relationship with that guy. Young girls can be that way. They can be very deeply emotionally attached. But again, it's an emotional attachment to keep the guy so others can't get him. But there really is nothing she's doing to qualify the guy or even qualify herself for a long-term relationship that will eventually shift out of this phase. It won't. It's not happening. Because again, we know everyone that gets a new car, once you drive that car for 6 to 7 months, you're going to start noticing things you don't like about that car. That's going to happen. You're going to think, oh man, it's maybe too small. Maybe I should have got it this. Maybe I should have got that. That happens once the newness or novelty has worn off. But for young people, they can go a long time before their novelty wears off to now they have reality-based glasses on or eyes on, where they start to see the cracks of imperfections hidden in the earlier phases because they have only met the representative or a person who they didn't see. They saw the representation of what they wanted, meaning the popularity. He was a sports guy. He's going to the pros, but we didn't know if he even washed his ass at all. We just know he was going to the pros. He's popular. He's this, he's that. So this now they're dating. Now they're the puppy love. Now they're going through the relationship. Now they're getting into, seriousness. The I love you can come into this part here. I love you. And sometimes, adults always dismiss young love because the love is just given out, and that's to further secure the prolongment of a relationship. And again, fathers are also guilty at this point because they're failing their daughters. I'm gonna talk about how mom and dad are wrong for their encouragement of this behavior instead of dismissing it as it's not serious. It is a serious thing. It's serious to them. Young men and women have taken their lives because they have lost a person that they thought they would never get back. And frankly, that's a young person's reality. You can't sit here and just be so dismissive of young people having nervous breakdowns or crying their eyes out because they lost a boyfriend. Yes, once we get past that and we become older, we do see sometimes how silly it is. But for a young person, this is their reality. And part of that is because the pedestalization of a woman and the mate that she selects, the higher this pedestal, the higher the pedestal on the other side that they go after. So when they lose that, the young person looks around and they don't see another mate that's this high or higher. They now look and now they look down and see their selection, and they get afraid of heights because they're high up the pedalization, not down on the ground where they feel safe. This is why we talk about a lack of options now. I'm breaking it down. This is the scientific explanation of how divorces end up becoming divorces. And you could disagree, but again, no, I would love to see. That's the one thing I do. No one takes the time to explain these things to a greater detail. They just give you pretty much the cliff notes. And I'm talking about how psychology along the way builds up these imperfections that lead to devastating results later on in life because they're not fleshed out. So the dating is going on, and I love you is brought into the fray because it is now meant to solidify any shaking. That's synonymous when you get older to a baby coming in to give the marriage a little bit more life. It's the same exchange happening. It parallels along the way. Young people say I love you to get to a stronger bond to make sure they don't lose the person. It's not to gain them further. It's more to not get them to lose it. Or the strong liking really has nothing and it's a ceiling. So I love you's blurted out to say we've reached another level of emotional bonding, but really it's still not an exchange. And parents are implicit in that. They do not talk to the or train the children at a young age to understand their feelings. And not only that, the environment that they're walking into. When your child is in middle school, going to high school, you have to let them know the high school environment as far as groups, cliques, the hierarchies that go on, how feelings are going to come about, and the fact of when they're dating, they really don't know who the hell they're dating. They don't know anything about them. What they like is generally a group image or depiction, or it's a, microcosm of the culture of high school that's saying this is what you should desire. I'm not saying that you should interfere with that, but you should educate along the way. This is why girls will take a guy back when he cheats on her. Because again, the standard of value is not taught at that time. They're going off popularity and the basis of other people, such as their friends. This is why guys feel a great deal of anger when a girl cheats on them with another popular guy. He may want to fight him. Because again, what happens is his hurt is being ridiculed by his group of friends. Because again, you got to be tough for this, and this. And that results in sometimes violent outcomes. But he's never taught that you should never have given away so much to a girl who never gave you anything back. And that's what a guy is most upset about. Is it the other guy got her? No, it's the fact that his investment, he's lost a lot of money, never got an ROI, and now he looks silly. But there was no promise that you were getting an ROI on that exchange because, again, you didn't look at how you were investing too much into a losing product because it never paid any dividends back. I'm getting some business game right here, folks. The girl is never, you see it all the time. It's always, I want a drug dealer. I sent my dad something about that. And Jason Whitlock, he put a TikTok out about the same thing. When a girl asks girl what she wants, I want to, it's black communities, drug dealer or athlete, jock, this, and this. That is not a person. That is an archetype. That's a type. Anybody can fit into that. You could have Jeffrey Dahmer fit into one of those categories. Don't mean you should date him. But parents are okay. They don't check that because maybe they didn't know. Maybe they weren't taught. So we're moving into this phase where the love exchange is given, right? The love exchange is given now. I love you is now happening. I'm in love, fully in love. Time is going on 5, 6, 7 months. And guess what happens now? Someone starts, maybe the novelty starting to wear off. You're now noticing things about them you don't like. This is where fights emerge in the relationships. This is where the reality of who people are starts to become ever so present. Or new interests or new hierarchies are being established as you move from freshman, sophomore, and junior and senior year. Excuse me. And now what happens is there's shifting coming. Parents see this, they still do nothing. They console or congratulate. But again, the girl, let's say it's the girl side, the girl breaks up with the guy. They break up, she's heartbroken. But there are no lessons taught from that breakup. Most of the time, the kids don't want to communicate with the parents, or the parents don't know how to communicate with the kids. There's most of the time, let them figure out. I would hope that nowadays parents take a little bit more active approach of actually talking to their kids, not right off the heels of a breakup. And again, what is the breakup is that they always tell the kids, you'll get over it. There's not a, hey, let's understand, why did you like that guy in the first place? And the child now can start to process and think about the choices they've made that led to an outcome that the person never really, did you do anything for him? Because I would tell my daughter, hey, what did you do to show him you liked him? Because a lot of times I'm going to relate to how I'm going to break this. You're going to love where I'm going with this later on, because you'll see how This relates to when you're in a marriage, that also breaks it down. You know, there's no talk of what did you get him for Valentine's Day? Did you do anything? Did you send him a card? Did you tell him you'll take him out to a place? What does he like? What are his hobbies and interests? Have you asked about who he is? I was walking today, and shout out to Anish, my neighbor. We always do Monday and Friday walks. We tend to walk a couple miles together. His son and my kids, and they go to school. So it's just good to have someone that you exercise, you go on walks with, not that kind of walk, but I wear a weight vest and all of that stuff. And we talk as fathers, as husbands. And I told him, I said, how can I ever say I know you if I've never asked where you came from? If I've never asked who you are. Oh, Suki. All right. Okay. All right, Mr. Davis. I'm about to get you up in here. I know. Are you still here? Let me call him right now. We got somebody wanting to chime in here. Okay. Hold on. Mr. Davis, are you still, Chris, are you still out? Are you still listening? If you're listening right now, let me know. Let me know. Just text me in the chat so I can bring you up. I'll send you an invite, okay? Into the link. I'll send you an invite here, okay? I'm gonna send it to you in Facebook Messenger. If anybody does want to chime in on this, I welcome you to. I welcome you to it all. Because I do want people to chime into this. You know what I mean? To this component right now. Older or younger, why would it matter? It won't matter. If anybody wants to chime in on this, I'll have you on the show. I'll send you a link and you can join in on the conversation. I would love it. I would love to have that happen. Hey, Chris, I sent you the invite here. I'll text him right now because I love it. I love it. I'm gonna text him right now. I just sent you the link. Chris, if you're listening, I just sent you the link in Facebook Messenger right now so you can see it, man. This is one of my college buddies here, folks. I'm trying to get people to chime in on subjects because I have a network of people that, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're scientists and things like that. And they have I have a good circle of people that they know stuff. They actually are respectable people in their own micro communities and their professions and stuff like that. And they actually have good things to contribute to the show. Let me give him a call real quick and just make sure he's got it. I love this, man. This is great. This is awesome. And I'm going to start doing this stuff. Give me 1 second here, folks. Let me see if I can get him real quick. See, this is just live. I love it. Hey, yo. Hey, I sent you the link in Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
Just click that link and I'll put you in the chat in a second, all right?
All right, cool.
All right, man. Yeah. So we gonna get into it, folks. Woo-hoo. Okay. It's not a dissenter or anything else like that. If anybody else in my family, friends watching it, mom, dad, things like that, come on, chime in, man. This is great. Let's get the conversation going. I'm gonna keep on ahead until I get them in there. In the relationship, in the relationship dynamics here, you start moving along, and your daughter or son is upset about a breakup and left. And I would say for the daughter side, when the guy cheats on her or whatever else, or leaves her for another girl or whatever else, what did you do to show him that you liked him, that you liked parts about him? Did you like him only because he was a jock, because he fit into that one model? Did you like him because of his status, but you didn't get to know the person? Okay. And the problem is that the younger people, they keep going through life dating like this. She'll leave this one relationship and she'll go on and date another guy who still has to come back. She might like a new guy. She gets over the crying, all of that stuff, and gets past it. And then she sees another guy she likes. And she goes right back into the same formulation that led to failure before, hoping to be successful now, which is he's going to come to me, tell me he likes me, or I tell him I like him. And then what is he going to do from there? Chris is in here. Let me throw him in here. Hold on 1 second, Chris. Hold on one second. Let me throw him in here. Add him in the stream. Hey, Chris.
P, what's up,
Got
man?
your mic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Let me make sure I can hear him.
Can you hear me?
Okay. I'm gonna put him in here. See if you can hear him. Let me change my audio settings here, folks. Hold on one second here. Audio. See, speaker, Pro 2 chat main. There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Pro 2 chat.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right. I hope everybody can hear Chris in the chat right now, so I can hear him. Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. All right. Can everybody that's watching tell us if you hear us both in the stream there? All right, what do you got on this, Chris? Let me hear it, man.
Man, first of all, I would like to say that this podcast is awesome. A lot of times we don't hear the things that we growing up as a part of our kind of training, and we get kind of locked in to these patterns based off of what we experience, and we're never conscious of getting out of those patterns. And so when it comes to even failed relationships, going from I like you, then I hate you, some people are trained that way, but some people just naturally get into that pattern. And it's good to recognize all patterns and then get out of them so that we can make those changes in our lives. But these things are so deeply rooted in our life. I like to comment on the segment that you were talking about in terms of the like patterns, particularly in the high school to college phase, where you're kind of learning yourself. So, growing up, you may realize that, maybe I'm an athlete. Like, for instance, me and you, we're not tall guys, we're short guys, but, we built our worth based on our environment around us. And at least for me, I kind of saw myself, and still, I kind of still do see myself as relative to anybody else. So it could be a tall guy next to me. I could be in the gym. So we're 42 years old. I could be in the gym, and I know that my workouts and how I'm working, 95% of the guys in that gym are not working as hard as I am, are not doing as much as I am to maintain my health and shape. And so even though my metabolism may not be there, but my mind is there, and I build some type of, I guess not value, but I build, I compare myself to that. It's kind of natural, but, I build that confidence. And so as a youngster, building your confidence typically comes from athletics, comes from the books. If you're a smart guy, you can compare yourself to other people who are somewhat smart and say, I'm a fairly smart guy. Or, if you're a black guy or white guy, I compare myself to, those guys as well. And, I would say, at least for me, I never fell into the standpoint where I'm, I sought out the best girl. Now, I know I found girls attractive, and so I, step one is being attracted physically to a girl. Right. Now, checking her attitude. A beautiful girl could have the worst attitude in the world. That's off-putting for me. So,
okay, let me ask you a question real quick though, because I think what you're doing is speaking from the man point, but go back to when you're 15, 16, 17, right. When you're a young person, did you think that way? Because I'm talking about the dynamics into the I like you phase, not how we're dating as adults. If we're single, right. I'm saying like when you're younger, did you feel young girls were taught to, hey, make sure you get him a Valentine's Day gift. Make sure when you're coming up and talking to a girl, if she likes you, basically she just had to be with you in order to, be with you. That was it. She didn't have to do what you had to do, meaning like you had to do the work to be the athlete that was popular.
Right,
There's a certain
right.
amount of work that comes with that. You didn't have to. You had to put some work behind whatever it is that was your currency that she was looking and found value in. It wasn't if you like anime, it wasn't like, oh, he likes Dragon Ball Z. That's who I've been looking for. Sign me up to a person who's Team Goku. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And I'm saying,
You know,
go ahead.
I feel like for me, and I learned this early on, the vibe got to be right. I've been with some beautiful girls where the vibe was all wrong. And yeah, I can say, yeah, I dated her. She was fine as heck. But, that vibe was off. I mean, we just did not click. And I didn't sit down and assess why we didn't click. But the standpoint, we just did not click. And I think that I learned that early on. And so that's why I was never, yes, I was into physical attractiveness, but I've dated nerd girls, if you will, girls that you mentioned, girls that were, the smart girls or the nerd girls, because I found them beautiful in some way, and so I kind of stuck to that. Now, did I stay with them? No, but did we break up? No.
And why is that?
Yeah, that I don't know. I've not assessed why I stayed. Maybe I moved on. You kind of meet your need, what you need right now, but when you're younger, especially when you're younger, your mind frame changes so quickly. And so in high school and even in college, you kind of shift towards my longest relationship was in college, well, longest till that point. I've never been with a girl for 4+ years, so it's high school moves a lot faster, but you're also developing and you're growing, and so you're also changing very quickly.
Okay, got it. All right, no, that's good, man. Do you think that sometimes, and again, I would say is that when you were going through the relationships, or maybe you even had your heart broken, did the like when your parents talked to you, you broke up with a girl, was there ever a conversation about, hey, did you ever qualify the girl for you? Did she ever do anything or you're dating a girl and maybe say, let's say in a situation, a girl left you for another guy. Did you ever ask, and this is high school I'm talking about, did your parents ever say, well, hey, did you make sure that she liked you, or did she like things about you? You know what I mean? Like, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think what happens is you just keep going through life and men never say, hey, does she really, are we going out on a date because I'm trying to impress her, or is she doing anything to impress me, or is she just here along for the ride?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the problem with parents is like, we're not teaching our children to say, hey, you need to make sure, or baby, my daughter's like, hey, you got to make sure, what is he like? Okay,
right.
he's this, he's that. What is he like? Because if he finds a girl that likes that stuff about him, you're out of here, guaranteed.
Right.
Agree or disagree?
High school and college were different phases. In high school, actually, my first girlfriend in high school, my first girlfriend in high school, I fell in love with this girl. She was, Puerto Rican beauty, into church. Used to send me notes like, I thank God that you came into my life. We used to go on, just walks. Like, it was very wholesome, amazing. And she was beautiful also. And, then she started having some trouble with her family life, and she disappeared for like 6 months, almost a year. And that really worried me. So and then she came back and like she was completely different. And so that heartbreak came from that such emotional roller coaster of a ride in the relationship. And I didn't date when she was gone, but when she came back, it was clear she didn't want to date me. And so, I had to move on. But, that actually primed me, I think, for the future. So maybe I sought out more emotional charged relationships, which is not always a good thing. But I think that was a part of that. And you know, I think that a lot of, as they're growing, typically get into a standpoint.
Hmm.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. I think you're switching back and forth between.
Okay. But a lot of girls, they get into a standpoint of just liking a guy for a guy. They don't even know anything about the guy. I mean, even in college, my college relationships, I would say 95% of them were a girl just enjoying me, but not knowing me, not asking me questions like,
Right.
what is your, what movie do you like the best? What's your favorite color?
Right.
Things like that. You can go, very superficial, but you can go deep as well. And I experienced relationships that didn't do that. So, I think it's important to find someone and to teach children to, once again, to that area of their life, to get to know someone and learn what they're about, and also learn their history, and obviously they'll improve as they get older, but that's important. And I would say like 95% of the girls that I've dated, especially high school and college, did not do that.
Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that how I mean, it's impossible to ask you now to look back on that and say, okay, well, how would that make you feel? But like I said, a lot of times in relationships, I see with young ladies is that if they were to take some of the, you're dating a jock, and most of the time we've seen the same old age-old trope that, hey, popular girl dates popular guy, and there really is not a relationship building. You running from you running from 12? What's going on, fam?
There was a fire truck that just passed by me. I'm in the car.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm like, he get running from 12 right now. All right, man. Get a hot out Memphis or something. Any which way. The parents. Okay, let me ask you this question. For the parents out there, do you think that's something that if you had to give yourself that advice, with dating girls, is that, hey, are you giving your heart away too quickly, or your liking or affection away too quickly to a girl who doesn't know anything about you? And because when I got older, I started doing that. Like even when I met my wife, I was like, you know what? We're doing all of this stuff that you like to do. What do you even know what I like? And she's like, nah,
Right.
you don't. And I was like, so why should we continue on dating if I'm just here to do everything to please you? You've got to qualify for me. And that changed things. I'm not saying, she was like, oh, baby, this, but it was like, it changed the tone from her first to we need to have a relationship. Even like watching shows, because I know that's like a relationship thing to do, is like, let's watch what she wants to watch. And I'm like, no, man, hell no. We're going to watch some Transformers, Fall of Cybertron. You're going to have to watch this anime with me. And get to it. You know what I mean? Like how I was like, Dragon Ball Z, how many episodes? 1,000, and we're starting.
Let's go.
Right.
We're starting at 1.
Right. And
I would say, I have a daughter. She's 15, so she's coming up on that age, and I need to address specifically, how are you relating to that male person that you're interested in? Because she's interested in males. But I've always trained her. When we're talking, how was your day? And then she would answer, and I said, I had a day too. You can ask me how my day was. And so the conversation changed from, how was my day? How was your day? And then she would answer, and then she would ask me, how about you, Dad? And I would answer. And hopefully that facilitates the idea of a conversation where you're getting to know someone and she can translate. But, I maybe need to tell her specifically, when you talk to a guy, it's important that you get to know them as well. Right. And that means asking them about them.
Right.
Asking them about their day, or, their favorite color, or, so I think I need to do that a little bit more, but I have tried to facilitate that, teaching her to care about other people's feelings and care about other people's, get to know other people. And that comes through obviously getting to know your dad, so.
Yeah. Do you see that there's still an element or presence of her interest in guys is somewhat dictated through the opinions of her peers or her friends? That, that way that I said earlier in the chat in the podcast is that a lot of times guys don't know that literally her whole friend group, you're kind of dating her friends and her because their opinions of you are what's being exchanged when I like the guy. What do you think? And it's like, well, I don't, I girls will be somebody's hating saying that they don't think that she should date you and they want you. And then another girl is like, well, he might not be as tall as this dude, or he's more muscular. Everybody's chiming into that girl's formulation of whether or not you make the cut. And it's not if you were isolating her and she was looking at you on a one-to-one basis. Do you feel like that peer dynamic is still present in this day and age? Because you have a teenage daughter then.
Yes.
Okay.
I think there's two elements. I think, when she was in sixth grade, so she was 11, in seventh grade, she was 12. I think she was more interested in guys that reminded her of me. And
Got it.
so, and we're talking about, Valentine's Day, getting them a gift.
Yeah.
And I would ask her about, tell me about this guy. And she's like, oh, he looks like you, but he has more hair. And, he's funny like you, he's smart like you, but he has more hair. And so, it changed from that to now. Yes, I think she is going by what, her friends have said or talk, the influence of her friends.
Right.
And I think as she moves forward in the future, I think she will find some type of combination in between me and what her friends say, unless she totally abandons that. Now, she is selective about her friends, and she also is anti-popularity. Like, she doesn't go for the popular guys, because I think she has also a ideology that the popular guys are the butthole guys, which is not always the case.
Right.
But I think based on things that she's experienced in her life, she's come to that summation, and hopefully she figures it out.
Yeah.
We want to, as parents, we want to try to make that road as easy as possible for them.
Right.
But at the same time, we have to allow them to figure a lot out on their own.
Okay, but does that mean that there's no guidance along the way? Because what I'm getting to the part is that, when you keep pedestalizing or enforcing a pedalization of, popular guy, popular girl, and that moves up into college, and then that moves up when you get out into the real world, there's really no more room left for that. But when you're
Right.
in a relationship, after a while, you start noticing things that you don't necessarily like about a person. The novelty wears off. And now you really didn't do anything to cement an actual real foundation for a relationship being made. So what happens is you go from I like you, we may get married, if that model still exists, you get pushed into a marriage, and now you're right down divorce alley because realistically, you never really took time to get to know each other.
Right. Yeah, I think that the popular ideology does go away. I hope, but in terms of training, I think the impressionable years of a child's life is from 5 years old to I would say 12 years old. After this is my opinion.
Sure.
After 12 years old, they're locked in, and they're kind of doing their own thing, and especially females, because they're so group oriented that there's a couple of loners out there, outliers, but they're very group oriented, so they congregate. And I coached track for a couple years, and I coached the girls team, and the guys were running on. I mean, they were competing, where the girls were sitting there talking, and I had to break them up and say, guys, let's stay focused on what we have to do. And they do things more in a group setting, and so they're very influential on each other. But I think the core of a person's being, especially a female's being, is impressed upon them, from like 5, but more so 8, from 8 to 12.
Cool, man. All right. No, I appreciate that, man. And thanks for chiming in, man. I'm gonna drop you down and everything, and man, have a great
All
weekend.
right.
I hope you talk soon, man. And always chime in if you let me know if you got something to say. I'll bring you up next time.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for the
Thanks.
time.
Not a problem. Take care. Well, there you go, folks. I'm gonna move this story. I actually got a text from my wife. My son's having stomach problems, and with kids, you just never know. So I'm going to move this through a little bit more quickly in that phase. Is that now you're getting to, and I think that's great. And thank you, Chris, for chiming in on that. That's great. But again, he did touch on some things that I said. Is that there is still some kind of peer review going on when you're dating. And again, what I'm saying is that later on, this is going to have long-term effects if this is not kind of broken down. And I respect what he's saying. You have to let him kind of figure it out. But again, what I'm saying is there's some element of guidance that we have to have. It's not telling them what they should and shouldn't pick, but getting them to understand decisions they've made that have led to certain outcomes that they're experiencing now. Sometimes you need to show children, hey, you made this choice, then this happened, then that happened, then this happened. And then after that, this is what occurred. And what you hope is before they get to the time where they're making serious decisions, that the child is starting to kind of look at decisions that they've made that led up to a point of, hey, this is a disaster, because they're going to go through it again. Life will keep giving you the same decisions or same situations a lot of times. As time goes on, it will keep on spinning it back out to you. And then you'll face with the same circumstances again. It's life will keep on doing it and do it till you learn. But sometimes that results in a divorce, things like that later on. And that's what I'm saying is that when you're moving into now, you're going to live with someone and you're still trying to impress the woman and things like that. But again, the dynamics start changing because I got to go to work, man. The bills become more important than your beauty. The woman said, yeah, I know you're a jock and everything, but right now, the lights matter more than you being a jock, more than you being popular. Your job is not sufficient enough to support this family that we're starting to have. I'm not working right now and I'm looking at these bills being paid, but was there an error in the choice because we did not train how to look through and say, okay, well, you know what? At some point, you're not going to be as good looking as you are today as you are 5 years from now, or maybe you will be. But at the same time, you're going to be driving, you all will be used to each other. That same level of beauty, that same jockness will not matter 5 years the same way it does today. Your currency, there's a devaluation of your currency happening. And then you get into that's where you're knee deep in the middle of I love you, because you're going home from work, the person's coming back. There's not any more of the let's stick together, let's love each other, let's huggy, kissy. That's done. Now you're in the part where reality's here. The child's crying, the baby's pooping and the crying, and then you want to get in the bed and get some action going on, and she's tired from a long day. And now the fighting is going on. But again, when we were going down the road of relationship, what's happening is people are not qualifying for each other. The woman's barely interested in the guy. She's just likes the guy. And the guy's doing everything to get the girl, to keep the girl. And then after that, the guy now has the girl. And then he's like, well, what do I do all of this for? This girl ain't, she don't know how to do this. She'll know how to do that. And the girl is sitting now, and this has become even more, this is kind of going on like, 100, light speed, because now it's like what women want now is they want perversions of this model. And now the adult realm, we got, like I said, I sent a video to my father last night, and it was like, she wanted to kill a guerrilla drug dealer. That's what she wants. They got to qualify and they got to compete with that. And I'm like, why would I ever want to compete with a woman who wants that? But that woman will go on to have children, and my children will be in the dating realm of meeting a person like that, who's raised that drug killer dealer was the top guy, because that's what he brought to the table. I don't know if he knew how to pay bills, or he talked about long-term outcomes like 401k, investment, stock, really the stuff that really matters. But that's never being discussed. I don't know. So now you're in the I love you phase. Now you're in a relationship, and the problems are coming. The hardships are coming. The stress is coming, the economy is coming, inflation is coming. And again, when you dated a girl who liked you because of your looks, or you went to qualify for her, but she didn't qualify for you, she now was still talking at you from a pedestalization standpoint, from her high arching, the way you built her up. You built a bonfire to, this nice pedestal for her to stay on. And now that you both are in the same situation, she's still talking to you as she's that younger girl that's went through life looking at things from a pedalization standpoint, from a pedalized view. And you're saying, well, you're not younger anymore. Your looks aren't there. Maybe you're not saying it. Maybe too chicken shit to say anything to your woman. And it's like you trying to get her to understand that, like, hey, we have to kind of move past the high school ways that you had when you were the popular girl. We have a family to raise. We've got stuff that matters now. And you're saying, hey, I'm providing, I'm giving us a home, I'm giving us a house, I'm giving this, and you're too tired to do your job, which is, what's the reciprocating that I'm getting? Because men, what they'll do is they'll get to this point and they'll start asking for reciprocating stuff. Come on, baby, you want to do something tonight? I'm tired. I don't want to do anything. I'm sleepy. I have a headache. I'm tired of babies. Are you serious? I just had a burrito for lunch. Are you serious? I have a headache. I just did 18 loads of laundry. Are you serious? I don't want to do it anymore. You're not getting top-notch fellatio. Your toes are not curling at all. She no longer is juicy in the coochie for you at all. Bars. She's no longer, there's no longer soaking of the bed. Hell, you might have to be quiet or have to be told to hurry up in most cases. Who knows? There may not be an effort put in to get you to the photo finish. There may not be. And then now you're disinfected. You're like, now you're resentful. Now you're bitter. Now you're hurt. And now you're wondering or pondering whether you should get out there and step out in these streets and make another choice. Does she qualify for you? Does she know that she had a job to do as well while being your woman? Or did you pave the road to say that every time it was just, yes, dear, happy wife, happy life, happy woman, that's it. I don't want to hear her nag. I don't want to complain or whatever else. And again, that is more carpet rolling out for her to still be on her red carpet for pedalization. And then when you finally make her work for something, there's a rejection. And is it the woman's fault? Not necessarily. Because when you go back to the top level guy, he didn't have to do anything. And I'm told you I was going to connect those two. He didn't have to do anything to win her affection. He just had to choose her. And you're putting yourself in the same role as her when she's dating the top level guy, because she's put him on a pedestal and you put her on a pedestal instead of talking her one-to-one. There was no work, division of labor. There was no labor she had to do to get with you and stay and maintain a relationship with you. And guys are more not willing to argue, make demands or requests, or go through the harder road because why? And that's part of guys' nature in some aspects. But again, it is a fault that causes us later pain down the road. Because we don't want trouble. We just want things to go. We want to relax, go to our beers and this, but we're not changing the root cause of the behavior. Is it too late to do it once you're already married? I don't think so. Because what happens, what you got to do is actually, you've got to go a longer amount of time correcting behavior you should have corrected in the beginning. Or you should have disqualified them for it in the beginning. So you have a choice to make. And that's where you're past the I do's. You've got children, you've got investments, you've got a house that you're now going to lose. Like someone once told me one day, once you get out of the house, there'll be another set of feet in there and in that bed that you once slept in. You're paying for a mortgage while living in an apartment and no one cares. Does that mean that this is the only way? No. But for a lot of guys, this will kind of chip away at that marble that you got to live carrying down this road of trying to make her happy. And again, most divorces, 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by the women. not by men. But again, that's because that now the pedestal is still being pushed up higher, and now she can't see you, so she's looking for someone at her level. This is the whole level up, level up, level up. And guys are just trying to keep the ground stable where the pedestal is, trying to make sure they do for the kids and this, and this. But your relationship is crumbling. Now the divorce comes. And like I said, the guys are implicit in letting this happen. They don't say, hey, I remember a lot of times my wife will want to watch a show. We watch Lost. And I say, you know what? We're going to watch a show I want to watch. You're going to have to sit here through this movie that I only like. You have to do that. We're not just going to watch something we both want to watch. If I got to sit here and watch whatever you want to watch in a girl movie or another Tyler Perry show, which my wife loves watching, all the variations, you got to sit here through this. And there are times where I won't watch a show until she watches mine first. Because again, you're saying, hey, there's a certain level of reciprocating respect you need to have in order for me to give you what you want. And most guys won't do it because we're too scared to act. And that's the thing. The part that you're scared of to press on that with a woman, that's the reason why she's getting rid of you. That's the reason why. And you think about it in the normal terms of the alpha guy, bad boy, whatever else, he's not afraid to tell her no, I don't like that. I'm not going to do that. And the guy who's a number 4, number 5, number 6, getting a person that is a popular girl, again, that's what's failing, is that you're willing to go along with anything and you won't stand for something. And she's not interested. Because what's the point of getting yeses all the time? And she's had other guys say no. And for girls too, that's the same thing. Well, every guy, and again, a guy the same way, he wants someone that's not just willing to go along with everything. Someone that he can talk to and say, hey, but again, I think sometimes women take that and they morph that into something that's hideous, like, a disagreeable woman. Attitude, overly opinionated. I ain't going to do this. The cookie mindset, did that. Oh, girl, going that kind of stuff is detrimental to a person who wants, when I say is a balance of exchange, and it's now to the point where a man providing for a woman, it's not enough. Simply making sure that you have a roof over your head and provisions is not enough, because a woman's saying, well, I can do that too. Maybe not at the same level, but that I can do that too. And I'm not saying this is going to fix all relationships, but it definitely will make sure that men or women who are not in an equally yoked relationship can start getting it equal. Because what happened in previous times is that roles were assigned or just understood. It was a common cultural practice. It was traditional, old school, if you will. But that was society standards dictated that was your role, and people fell into them. And then some people didn't, and they became outliers. But now there's a changing of that. But again, where society and traditions may change, common practices may change, your practical way of dealing with people still needs to remain the same. Yes, women can go out and get degrees. But again, you've got to figure out how to make your schedule work with the degrees that they have. And degrees don't always mean economic outcome. They don't. Okay, so what? You have a degree. But women overwhelmingly are not going into the major fields, STEM, engineering, math, and technology. They're not. They're going into service-related industries. That's just the facts. That's the stats there. So with that comes certain things that go along with that, such as when the pandemic came along, those jobs went away, and they had economic consequences for women, despite their degrees. And again, if you're dating a woman and you want, the young men out there who want the Andrew Tate type, I'm a boss alpha dude, and you want to lead in that way, when you lead in that way, and that's no shot to Andrew Tate at all. I'm just saying, when they want that ideology, a woman has to be doing things that you like as well as the things that she likes. Yeah, I've watched my fair share of The Notebook once, but I've had girls playing video games and they've just gotten their asses handed to them the whole time. But she's got to stay here and play for an hour.
Yeah. That's it. That's a value exchange. Or she has to sit here and watch. Or yeah, can you order some food for me? I tell my wife all the time when she's in California, she used to go out with her friends, and I say, "Yeah, but you're gonna order me a pizza, something like that. I ain't gonna sit here alone or whatever else." Like, yeah, there's some exchange. I don't care if you go out. I don't mind, but like, I'm gonna get some pizza and beers. Order a pizza, please. And it wasn't to command her to do what it's due, but it's like, hey, no problem, but make sure I'm taken care of. You going out to go get something to eat, make sure I got something to eat. Just order it for me. Because I want you to make sure that you're not only are you enjoying yourself, but you're also taking care of your man. There should be some pride in that. Why is it pride only when a man takes care of his woman and his family, and that's a go ahead good man, but the woman is still there's nothing on what is it? She just has to simply exist in order to be a good woman. How? It's like mothers. Only you just got to be a mother to be a good mother. But if a dad doesn't live up to criteria or demand according to a terrorist organization, then guess what? He's a deadbeat dad. How? And again, that's because it's only Valentine's Day for the woman. It's not for the man. And the relationship, the man has to go to work or whatever else, and he comes home and he wants to empty out his testicle sack, and the woman says, I'm tired. Now, in younger years or in a younger environment or in dating in a competitive marketplace, she would never say that. But now that time and novelty worn off, she does not feel the need to please. And those are other bars for you. And the man becomes disenfranchised, frustrated, and eventually may strike out to go ahead and go do something else. Happens. And then you get the divorce. That's where we lead to. And again, the woman goes back out, and that's the problem that we're seeing nowadays with the older women, the leftover women that they talk about, the Shang Wei in China that, Kevin Samuels talked about, the older women on the dating market still thinking that they've got it despite competing with women half their age. And again, it's because they've gone through a lifetime of pedalization. I've seen men even go, I don't know how we would do it without you. And how everything would go. You would just adapt. Like, why are you pedestalizing that? And I'm not saying there's a problem with that. There's nothing wrong with a man saying his wife is worthy or, celebrating your wife or a woman. There's nothing wrong with celebrating a woman. But does a woman celebrate her man? And again, we see it anytime in this society, a woman celebrates a man, it's looked down upon. And that is the prevailing culture because, again, when they're younger, the boys are trained to get the gifts for the girls. Even in the shows, every kiss begins with K. It's the woman getting the gift, the marriage. Why is the man getting down on his knee, asking a woman to marry him, and she doesn't have to get down on her knee? She just buys him a ring later. They get upfront investments. Your anniversary, you have to get your wife something for the anniversary. Why? I'm already married to her. We both are married. It wasn't just her getting married to herself. I have to. Why am I not getting something? Why? And that's the prevailing culture. And you have generations of people putting this into here. And again, if you don't get your wife something, try to see if people are okay with it. You got to be a strong person, sit around and be like, I'm not getting her anything. I'm married to her. I'm providing you with house, security, car, and everything else. Why do I have to give you more than that? I don't get my kids for stuff for Christmas because I'm telling them your gift is a year-round gift of clothing, food. If I have to buy you shoes, I don't wait till your birthday to buy them. So why do I have to pick one day to buy you a gift in order to celebrate a holiday of gift giving when you get gifts year-round? Why? Let your in-laws, grandparents, and all of them get you gifts, because why do I have to do more than provide, spend my time with you, educate you, do everything else? Why do I have to do more than that? And that's, again, parents doing the pedalization thing. We don't teach kids disappointment. We don't teach them hardships. We don't teach them that, hey, you got to do some work and labor. One thing I tell my kids all the time when they're playing video games, if you cut the game off because it was hard, you're not going to be playing video games again. Because you need to try. You need to try. It's hard and we quit. But again, that's a teachable moment for tell my son, what are you going to do when you get out in life and it gets hard? You're just going to quit. There are no respawns to our knowledge. I tell my daughter all the time, hey, will you think that you're the only one that had a rough day? Is it only you? Is that only your toy? I have to separate her from the universe that she only exists in. But if you don't do that, daddy's little girl, again, it's not daddy's little boy. And we've had on this podcast, if a son loves his dad, everybody, it's a bad thing. We're preaching and teaching that a man's worth is only in what he does for others, not what people do for him. And why shouldn't a woman be allowed to celebrate a man? Why is that such a bad thing? Why, I ask. And that's the problem. That is the problem. Is that we constantly go through life pedestalizing one person, and it doesn't matter if you do it to a child, you do it to anyone, you put them on a pedestal where they do not have to do anything to earn a reciprocal part. It grows into relationships that become perverted in a sense of that you don't have to do anything but just exist in order to have everything that you want. There's no burden of proof on a woman to do for a man the same way a man has to do for a woman. But we want equality. That's what they say. And I would say all the time, like, again, why does a man have to get down on a knee and propose to a woman? Why? First of all, you drop in a couple grand. Let's just start there. And then after that, now you got to drop on a knee. You're now, what you're doing is saying that she now has become the second thing next to God. You know, all women are, God, woman, black woman is God, all of this other stuff. You're making them, you're deifying them. And they deify themselves to where they cannot be wrong. I don't know. Have you ever heard that? Try telling a woman she's wrong? And again, we train our daughters to be this way, to be deified. And it gets to the point where now there is no more room for God in their life. They are now their own God. Is it only women? No. But for a lot of people, the fact that you've been pedestalized so long in many different ways, you've now become your own universe where you are your own God in your own universe. You can't be told you're wrong, whatever else. I'm bald. I've already been told I'm wrong. And I've told my wife all the time, I've been told I'm wrong because I wasn't tall enough. I've been told I'm wrong because I lost my hair. I've been told I'm wrong because I wasn't dark enough. I've been told I'm wrong because I'm not light enough. You remember, I'm not black. I'm not white. I'm not black enough. I'm not white enough. I've been told I'm wrong in so many ways. Where have you been told you're wrong and you've had to live with it? Where have you seen someone tell you you don't make the cut when you are allowed pretty privilege? Where you are allowed to get by on your looks. You never had to work hard for anything outside of your looks. And for a lot of women, that's the case. How many times did they pick the guy who wasn't really going to do anything for him? Parents told him you shouldn't date him, and they didn't care. That's what I see happening often. And the same thing with guys. You were trying to get the girl because you didn't want another guy to get her. You didn't say, hey, I'm interested in you. Let's see if we both can, we can make something work. And the girl says, okay. And it's like, hey, listen, you know what? If you don't call me, I'm not going to always call you. I'm not. I'll call you from time to time and whatever else. But if you don't have an interest in me, meaning that you don't want to learn anything about me, I don't think it's going to work. If we're not doing anything that I want to do, I don't think it's going to work. And eventually, if she met enough men that said that to her, she's going to change her behavior. Which means once you get in a relationship with her, she's going to learn things about you. But our society is front-loaded all the onus onto you have to do everything in one-sided ways. And that leads to a man will get married to a woman who he's not her number one. She's his number 7. And she will still be living like she's still the number 1 pick when she had the number 1. Disappointed about having a number 7, even though she's no longer a number 1 in her own category. And she'll go through life in that relationship seeing and treating him bad because he's not a number one. And he will allow it because he's got a number two or a number one. He's got the pretty girl. And when the age and time goes on, it starts to lose its luster and the truth comes out. But making a relationship work, relationships do work. Most people don't want to get past the initial phase where the exchange is either all one way or the value is front loaded in looks. Meaning that women stay in relationships nowadays so long as the man is doing everything to get her attention. And men are staying in relationships so long as the woman is attractive enough and there's a physicality exchange for him trying to get the woman. Simple as that. And when that runs out, when that novelty runs out, then there's nothing else. But by then, the wounds been seeded, and the man's resources are cemented in the form of a house and a family. The woman now has, children now that she's, sired. She's been, seated with another man. And now you have to break up what is, a house that should have, furthering economics, and it's not there anymore. You got separated households. So, and again, this is going to happen. And the relationship could work if there was more attention given to a biphasic exchange of the individuals, not on the currency of why they're with each other, meaning she looks good and this and that. She's pretty. And most guys stop just at that. And most women stop at whatever value they say that the man holds, but it's not the person. So, folks, I think that's the I like you, I love you, I hate you process in there. And sometimes people try to stick together to make it work. But again, a successful relationship works when you get back into understanding how the person operates, what they like and what they don't like. But most people won't do that. They won't spend the time to learn that. But they will go out into relationships and break up and go through further things again. This is why you would see the remarrying, people getting remarried, second, third, the divorce rate goes up higher. If divorcing a second and third time increases getting remarried a second or third time, the divorce rate goes up higher for you, then that means that's simply because you're operating off the same template. And that's that. I'm going to close it out here, folks. I hope, folks, that you have been. Let me get the music popping up in here. Folks, Phil Davis, Ancestrylands. Folks, if you have liked the show, please donate. You see, I've got the lights up in the background. I'm going to do a little bit more to jazz this up so we can get this going, Folks, happy Friday, folks. I really hope that you have great plans for the weekend. Remember, folks, that the main thing you got to do, you got to make sure a person gets to know you when you're dating. If you're the one asking all the questions, if you're the one doing all the showing the front end of affection, you don't have to lead the person, but you got to let them know that, hey, look, you know what? What do you know about me? What do you know about what I like? Do you listen to what's going on in my day? Or are you waiting for your turn to speak? That's important. Does a person even talk to you about what they're going through? Do they ask intricate questions? Like, what makes you tick? What do you like? What do you dream of? Those are young question answers. Even now, it's like, hey, in a marriage at this point, you should, and where I'm 40, like you're 10 years in, you should be talking about, hey, what do you want retirement to look like? And that's the thing. We're going through the motions. And we find out one day we're just not happy because we no longer connect. But we're not building plans of engaging each other to forward our journey together. Completely agree with you. Folks, have a great weekend. We'll be back to you on Monday. I got to go see what's up with my son. Stomach ache stuff. What's in their stomach ache? Where is it? It'd be so much simpler if we just knew if they ate something, but kids, man. Any which way, folks. Phil Davis, Ancestrylands. I hope you have been enlightened, educated, and mostly entertained, folks. Have a wonderful weekend. We're live with Uncle Phil.